I think I grew up in Cumbernauld to have a really good time because it was kind of first generation of kids who'd kind of moved out there, and a lot of people, a lot of the parents who'd moved out there had moved out for a better life. You know, they'd been offered, you know, houses with gardens or flats with, you know, nice views and stuff like that. So I think there was a lot of kind of forward thinking parents who kind of moved out there at that time. So as a result, I think a lot of people who I went to school with were kind of forward thinking and very creative as well, you know. So as a result of that, you know, and it was a great, I think it was a great place to grow up. I was at school, my art teacher told me, like, you know, I kind of wanted to be a painter, but my art teacher told me I was one of the worst painters he'd ever come across in her life, but I had an amazing sense of composition, and she actually suggested to me that I did photography at a local college. This was in third year or fourth year, and for some reason I didn't, you know, I don't know why, but I kind of picked up a camera, and you know, I was a wee bit self-taught. My dad was interested in photography. So it was always, you know, he was always taking pictures. I think he used to do like a kind of camera club at his school. So, you know, he kind of showed me how to print. So I kind of learned, you know, from my father at an early age. And it just, I mean, I'd always be wandering about with a camera, but I had no great desire to become a photographer, you know. It was just something I was, you know, it was just another thing that you kind of did, you know. I did this design for print course, and there was two routes you could go down. You could go down the design route, or you could go down the kind of industrial processes, like different forms, you know, the kind of the more, I don't know, lithography, gravure, letterpress, you know, the more technical side of it. So I decided to go down the design aspect of printing, and a lot of stuff that I designed, I used my camera to design with. You know, it was part of the design process it was doing, you know, so it was very kind of photography led. I mean, I think basically when I was studying at the college, I think even now to this day, a lot of photographers who are out working there always thought I was studying photography because I used to spend that much time in the darkroom, you know, away from everything else. They were like, no, but you're not studying photography? I was like, no, I was doing the other course. Around it, kind of at the time when Acid House was kicking off in Glasgow, so there was this massive scene of, you know, almost like punk rock in a way, you know, there was this kind of exposing the dance music, and I was kind of around, and I was, you know, I was right thick slap bang in the middle of it all. And I had a camera, so I was down the sub club and I was photographing all these people, you know, people who were there. So it was style, it was, you know, the DJs, the bands, you know, the clubbers, you know, and then just, you know, running around going, you know, I was quite influenced by bands like Joy Division and things like that, you know, so I was taking all these pictures which I thought related to this kind of lifestyle. And it wasn't for any particular reason I was doing it, other than that I actually quite enjoyed doing it, you know, so I ended up with this big box of prints just sat in my flat. I think it was down in finishing at the time, and it was kind of kicking off, and all of a sudden you were getting, like, you know, ID magazine, Face, Building Maker, NME, and they were phoning up and they were saying, right, who's got all these pictures of the scene and the fashions, and everybody would say, well, who's Sweeney's got them? So I kind of very quickly went from arsing around, taking photographs and having all these photographs in my flat, to these photographs being printed all around the world because of this kind of scene that was kicking off Scotland. So I was very much in the right place at the right time. You know, I had no formal qualifications in it whatsoever. So that kind of kicked it off. He just said, right, you've got it, can you work for us in Glasgow? And I was like, fair enough. The Brew pulled me up and they kind of said to me, what is it you do, Mr. Sweeney? You've been on the Brew, come on, you've got qualifications, you're not stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, right, I'm a photographer. And they just said, right, we've got a job as a trainee photographer, you start on Monday. So all of a sudden I was thrown into this position again, where it was like a YTS, you know, it was like a training scheme. So I was sent to work there, and I was there 5 days a week, and then they'd farm me out. They sent me to college, to Easter House, which is John Wheatley College, 1 day a week, and they sent us out. So I'd be out to the Glasweed Dune or the Daily Record or whatever. So in a way, that was my initial formal qualifications and that. But I mean, I was very self-proficient anyway, so a lot of the early modules and stuff we were getting, I was a wee bit like, and I think a lot of the lectures and stuff there, there was one in particular who inspired me. A lot of the people who I was teaching would just look at some of my photographs and go like, you know, forget it, you're going to be a social photographer, a wedding photographer. And I was like, I'm not even thinking about being a photographer, you know, I'm just passing time, this is great. I started up a wee business. We started doing the football. Started with my pal who was a newsman. I know, self-taught. He was from a long family of, you know, picture editors at the Sun. And but that wasn't the route at the time I wanted to go down whatsoever. So we started up with him. And I was doing lots of fashion stuff up here, and you know, like a lot of record labels. I mean, for instance, I was working for Limbo Records at the time, shooting all their bands, Soma Records, who I still do. I mean, as much as I used to, you know. So it's, and again, I think the same thing. I did this, you know. When I moved to Iceland, all of a sudden I had a lot more time, because when I was working in London, I was shooting at night and shooting during the day, and then partying, and you know, this went on for years. And there was lots of things that I wanted to shoot, and it wasn't, you know, it was, you know, just for myself, just purely for your soul, because it gets kind of monotonous when you're actually, you know, you are shooting. ID very much editorial, there's a style, you know, the Melody Maker, NME, we all have a style, so you were forced into kind of churning that out, and you actually, that becomes part of the way you shoot. It's like if you look at, you know, Evening Times photographers or newspaper photographers, you know, it's kind of ingrained into you. I was lucky because I worked for quite a diverse amount of magazines, people, and you know, and design agencies, so I became a lot more adaptable. But I kind of when I moved to Iceland, I had time to actually indulge myself in things that I really wanted to shoot, and one of these things was empty football stadiums. I mean, it started off as, you know, it was a whole thing about, you know, I photographed people all my life, and I was around people all my life, and I just liked that whole solitude of an empty football stadium. It's a way of taking a step away from what I was doing and going somewhere and doing something which seemed to me quite cultural, as well as, you know, just escaping away from my kind of day job, even though I was still taking pictures, if you see what I mean. So that's how it kind of started, and then I suppose it becomes like anything. You begin to collect, and started collecting, but the first time I had the chance to actually do a whole study of a country, of one individual place, was when I moved to Iceland, and I wasn't shooting every single day, so I thought, right, let's visit this, let's go here, let's have a look, and brilliant. And you know, I was really successful with that, because Adidas came to me afterwards, and they wanted to use it in their 2002 World Cup campaign. So every time there's a major football tournament in the world, you know, like the European Championships, we kind of churn out my work. And I mean, this is a project I'm still doing. I'm doing it on Scotland, because since I come back here, I've always wanted to do it in Scotland. So I've been doing all the Highland League clubs, I've been to Lewis and Harris, doing all the Island clubs. I moved to Iceland because I wasn't shooting every day. You know, I was doing advertising or bands or famous actors or actresses that come over. There was that little bit more time on hand, so I was sat with my partner then, and I was saying, look, maybe I could do a course for kids here. But I thought it was quite a good idea, so I went to a place called Huthusif. I thought, I'm not doing anything, might as well get some extra income and do something which was kind of integrating us with the community as well. My partner had stayed there for ages, but I kind of wanted to make an effort to go, right, I'm here now, so, you know, I can, not just, you know, a photographer, you know, I want to be part of the community as well. So I went to this organisation called Huthusif, which is Lighthouse, and it kind of, it's very similar to what the Prince's Trust is here. And straight away we were just like, this is a brilliant idea, this is amazing. So they gave us a bit of funding. I stuck an advert on national telly that I was doing this, flashing up all of them images, and it was just mental. Like, you know, I had 80 applicants to do this, and I'd only been intending to get 12. You know, it was just ridiculous. So they put us in an old alcohol storeroom, which they owned, and we gutted it and went in and built a dark room and kind of built a studio. Then we later moved on to which was the National Library. So with this National Library, we had it to our disposal. So we had parties upstairs, and then in the basement we had a dark room, and in the first floor we built a studio and just ran all these courses. And through that, the art school in Iceland really liked what I was doing, and they just asked me to come in and run some courses there, and don't know, I just really enjoyed it. You know, we'd been there for it, was great. We were quite forward thinking as well. I was very hands-on in my teaching rather than, you know, I'd go in and do a lecture, but it was very much right, we'd go and do stuff, constantly doing stuff, because I think that's the best way of learning. You know, you can sit and theorise about any given situation all you want, but it's never ever like that, especially in the photography world. You've got to be able to think it's like that all the time. You just never know what's around the corner.